Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into Arundhati Roy's incredible novel, The God of Small Things. It's really one of those books that stays with you.
It absolutely does. A profound impact.
Yeah. So for this deep dive, we're using a detailed summary as our guide. Our plan is to unpack its, well, complex layers, pull out the key insights, and really explore why the story resonates so deeply with readers.
We'll look at that unique structure, the character's so human, so flawed, and of course the heartbreaking events.
Exactly. We want to show you why it's such a captivating narrative. Okay, so let's start with the setting. Yemenim. It's a small village in Kerala, India.
Right. And the first thing you notice, and our sources really highlight this, is the timeline isn't straightforward.
Not at all. It jumps around, doesn't it, between two main periods?
Yeah, 1969, that's when the core tragedy happens, and then 1993, when the twins, Rahel and Esta, meet again as adults.
After years apart. And this fragmentation, it's not just like a fancy technique, is it?
No, not at all. It's brilliant, actually. It mirrors how memory works, especially memory tangled up with trauma. It surfaces, it recedes.
That makes sense. It reflects the character's experience.
Exactly. And it does more than just reflect memory. It's a clever narrative choice because it kind of disorients you, the reader, much like the trauma disorients the twins.
Ah, okay.
Roy gives you hints of the ending, or at least the tragedy to come, right near the start. So you read with this constant sense of, well, dread.
Yeah, you feel the weight of it coming.
You're piecing things together, fragment by fragment, which makes the final reveal, even though you sense it, even more devastating.
That sense of dread you mentioned, it really hangs over the family at the center of it all, the Ipe family.
Definitely. They're a Syrian Christian family in Yemenim, and our summary points out just how deep the resentments and secrets run.
And Amu, the twins' mother, she's right in the middle of it. Her being divorced is a major scandal in their conservative world.
A huge scandal.
Yeah.
And she's forced to live back in her parents' house with her kids.
Okay.
A very difficult, judgmental situation.
Her position as a divorced woman, it's critical, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. It immediately sets her apart, limits her options, and fuels so much of the family's judgment, sometimes outright cruelty.
It's like a small picture of the bigger societal pressures.
Precisely. The pressures that end up shaping her fate and her children's too.
So with that atmosphere, let's properly introduce the main people here. First, Rahel and Esta.
The fraternal twins, they're described as incredibly connected, almost like one person in two bodies.
But their childhood, as we'll see, is just completely shattered.
Utterly. Then there's their mother, Amu.
Who we've mentioned.
Yeah.
A woman really struggling, fighting against the constraints of her family, her society. She wants something more.
She really does. She's caught between her own desires and these, well, insurmountable walls of expectation and prejudice. Her internal struggle is so poignant.
And then Velutha.
Velutha. He's a carpenter, works for the family, but crucially, he's lower caste, Dalit, and untouchable.
And this is where things really ignite, because he and Amu become secret lovers.
Yes. And that relationship is the absolute core conflict. It breaks what Roy calls the love laws.
Those unwritten rules, tell us about those.
They dictate who should be loved and how much. It's about enforcing social boundaries, especially caste. So Amu and Velutha's love, it's completely forbidden, dangerous.
Crossing caste lines like that, it sets up this immense danger.
It's not just a personal risk, it's a direct challenge to centuries of social hierarchy. And Roy shows how this danger isn't just, about potential violence, but it's in the everyday rules.
Like what?
Like which glass Velutha can use, where he is standing. These tiny details that reinforce the rigid structure. It makes the caste system feel inescapable, suffocating.
That makes the other characters' roles clearer too, like Baby Kachama.
Right, the twins' great aunt.
Mm.
She's portrayed as manipulative, bitter, almost the guardian of the family's twisted morality and reputation. A key antagonist, really.
Then there's Chaco, Amu's brother.
Educated at Oxford, but kind of floundering. Represents a different sort of failure within that society, maybe.
And finally, Sophie Mole.
Chaco's daughter. Her mother, Margaret, is English. Sophie Mole's visit from England. It's meant to bring status, maybe happiness.
But ironically, it does the opposite.
It becomes the spark that lights the fuse. Her arrival sets everything in motion.
Okay, so the stage is set. Sophie Mole and Margaret arrive, hoping to bring some respectability.
Which ironically just escalates the tension.
And Amu, feeling trapped, finds solace with Velutha. Their secret affair, defying the love laws, defying caste. The danger is palpable.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Was it just the caste system that doomed them? Or did the Ip family's own issues, their secrets and betrayals, play a part too?
That's a really good point. It feels like a complex mix.
The narrative definitely suggests that. It's not just external forces.
And that leads directly to what happens next. Baby Kochama finds out about the affair.
And she is horrified. Not necessarily out of moral concern, but fear for the family's reputation.
So she starts manipulating things, twisting the situation.
Which leads to the absolute heart of the tragedy. There's a series of arguments, misunderstandings. The twins, feeling rejected, decide to run away with Sophie Mole.
They go to that abandoned house by the river.
Yes. And there, Sophie Mole accidentally drowns.
Just a devastating moment. Changes everything, irrevocably.
It's truly gut-wrenching. And while the drowning itself is an accident,
Right.
the catastrophe that follows is a direct result of those rigid social rules, the fear of disgrace, and frankly, individual malice.
Especially Baby Kochama's malice.
Exactly. It shows the terrible human cost of protecting a facade, of upholding reputation above truth or compassion.
And aftermath is just brutal. Baby Kochama needs a scapegoat to cover everything up.
So she falsely accuses Velutha,
Yeah.
says he kidnapped the children, implies he hurt Sophie Mole.
Which is a complete lie, designed to deflect from the real scandal, the affair.
Precisely. And Velutha, being delete, is the easiest target. The police beat him savagely.
He dies from his injuries. It's horrific. Pure social injustice.
It really is. He's at the bottom of the social ladder, so he becomes the convenient sacrifice. His death just highlights the complete lack of justice or protection for someone in his position.
It shows how truth gets trampled for social standing.
And what about Damu?
She gets blamed too, ostracized by her own family. They basically cast her out.
She dies young, alone, completely broken.
Yes, impoverished. And the twins, they're ripped apart by it all.
Best to get sent away to live with his father. Rahel stays behind, but
But it's not the same. That separation lasts 23 years.
23 years. Just think about that. Their lives are just marked by this immense trauma, this loss.
That separation itself is maybe the most lasting personal tragedy. Shows how these larger forces can just shatter the closest bonds.
And Roy really makes it clear that their adult lives are shaped entirely by that childhood trauma, that unresolved grief. It scars them so deeply.
Which brings us to 1993, the reunion. Rahel comes back to Imanem.
Because she hears Esta has been returned, sent back by his father.
And they're meeting after all that time. It's quiet, isn't it?
Very quiet, poignant. There's no big dramatic scene, just this deep, scarred understanding between them.
They find comfort in just being together again. It's like the only solace they have left.
It is. Their bond, though damaged, is their only refuge, the only thing connecting them to that shared, shattered past. It's a very bittersweet kind of healing.
It underscores how trauma can forge this, well, unbreakable connection, even if it's a somber one.
A silent understanding of shared suffering.
So walking through the plot like this really brings the novel's big themes into focus. First, obviously, caste and social injustice.
Yes, the book is relentless in exposing the cruelty of the caste system. Not just the big violent acts, but the everyday humiliations.
Like the separate classes you mentioned, the love laws. It shows how defying these norms has severe, deadly consequences.
It makes you really grapple with how much society's structures can dictate a person's life, their fate. Roy makes these abstract structures feel incredibly real, tangible, suffocating. You feel their power.
Then there's family and betrayal. The Ip family. It's supposed to be a refuge, but it's also a source of immense pain.
Absolutely. It shows how love and loyalty can exist right alongside resentment, manipulation, and ultimately betrayal. Some of the worst hurts come from within the family unit.
It definitely strips away any romantic ideas about family. It shows it as this complex, often fraught web.
And the family itself, even being upper caste, is fractured. It mirrors the divisions in the wider society. Characters like Baby Kachama clinging to tradition, or Chaco with his intellectual airs. They reflect a society struggling with its own contradictions.
And woven through absolutely everything is love and loss.
The forbidden love between Amu and Velutha is central, of course, but also the fierce love between the twins.
But it's paired constantly with loss. The pain of loss is just pervasive.
Love here is often that small thing, right? A moment of intense joy, fleeting happiness.
But it's also the trigger for the big things.
Exactly. The trigger for the societal backlash, the tragedy, the overwhelming loss that defines their lives. It's a very delicate, painful balance that Roy captures perfectly.
And finally, memory and trauma. We touched on this with the structure.
Yes, the nonlinear narrative is completely tied to this. It shows how trauma shapes memory, how it shapes identity itself. Memories aren't neat and orderly.
They surface unexpectedly, recede, reorder your sense of self, of time.
Precisely. Memories in the novel are like echoes, sometimes faint, sometimes deafening, and they constantly bleed into the present. The fragmented structure lets you, the reader, feel that disorientation, along with Rahel and Esta.
So, pulling it all together, what's the takeaway? The God of Small Things is this incredibly powerful look at how individual lives get caught and often crushed by huge forces.
Social rules, family expectations, history, they all converge on this one family. Roy gives us this deeply personal story, but through it paints this vast picture of love, loss, and the way childhood trauma echoes through a lifetime.
It's a masterclass in connecting the small personal story to the big societal picture.
It really is. It pushes you to look beyond just what people do, to the systems that allow or prevent those actions, and to see how history, both personal and collective, casts such a long shadow. It's not comfortable, but it's necessary.
And that ending, it's so poignant. It loops back, doesn't it?
Yes, a flashback. To that night Amu and Velutha spent together. A stolen moment of just pure connection, tenderness, happiness.
A small thing. And it stands in such stark contrast to all the tragedy, all the big things, the rules, the hate, the loss that follow.
It highlights the fragile beauty of those small moments of joy that somehow persist, even when the world is dominated by these oppressive forces.
It really makes you think about the weight of those big things in our own lives and the importance, the sometimes defiant beauty of the small things. So as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider, what are the small things that bring light into your life? And how do they stand against the big things, the pressures, the expectations that shape the world around us?